Hi, I'm Sean Keating with the Legends Realty Group, and in this video we're going to talk about how to write a competitive offer in a seller's market so you can actually win. This is going to be a little lengthy, so if you want to jump to the tips you are actually interested in, you can find the links in the description below. In a highly competitive seller's market, like we are currently in as we are making this video, it can be extremely frustrating and challenging to win among all the other offers sellers are receiving. So here are some tips to consider, many of which we use to help our clients actually buy a home in this type of market. First, let me be clear. If you are in this environment where there are multiple offers on every home that isn't drastically overpriced, you're going to need to make a full price and likely an above price offer. The time to consider negotiating a little off the top is if the home has been on the market for at least 2 to 3 weeks and they haven't reduced the sale price. If you aren't willing to pay at least full price, then don't waste your time looking in this market. The best way to think about it is that if you like the home, there are several other people who like it as well, and they will also be submitting offers. In this type of market, even the best agent in the world isn't going to get you a below price offer accepted when there are other multiple offers at or above list price. The value in having an agent in this type of market is that a good agent knows how to make your offer stand out and win among the competition. Second, don't try to do the following things on your own. Make sure you have a knowledgeable agent or an attorney if you want to go that route to make sure that you aren't putting yourself and your money at risk. If you do some of these things incorrectly, it could cost you thousands of dollars. So let's get started. Tip number 1, consider new construction. New construction is often much less competitive, and you will usually only have to pay the list price of the new home from the builder. The other benefit in an aggressive seller's market is that even though it might take 6 to 12 months to build, you will likely build some equity in the home before you even move in. That said, in our area, we have a backlog of people waiting on lots to be released because the county can't even approve zoning to keep up with demand. So get with your agent, find a development and a model home that you like, and get on the list to be notified when the next batch of lots are released, know which lots you're interested in, and be ready to jump on it immediately. Tip number 2, be quick to see the home. If you have to wait more than a day to see it, you are already at a disadvantage. Oftentimes, agents and sellers will put a home on the market on a Thursday or a Friday and state that they will review all offers by Monday. You may think that you have time to see it and still get your offer in, but unless you are significantly over full price and a cash offer with no contingencies, your offer that's likely number 7 or higher that the seller has received by Sunday night will be minimally compared to their favorite current offer that they already have. Plus, I have personally been able to get sellers to accept a slightly higher offer if they accept ours now instead of waiting over the weekend, and we beat out the other people who are waiting until the deadline to turn their offer in. So, to be quick, make sure you are set up to be instantly notified when a listing goes live on the MLS. This may mean that you get more emails than you'd like, but you are much less likely to miss out on the perfect home when it comes up. In order to do this, you will need a real estate agent to help set this up for you. If you do it through websites like Zillow or Realtor.com, you are likely going to be delayed in receiving those notifications. Tip number 3, have your money ready. Do not wait until you find a home to get pre-approved. While you're waiting for that pre-approval, you will miss out on the home almost certainly. If you aren't a cash buyer, your loan needs to be as simple for the seller as possible. If you plan to go VA or FHA, you may have a hard time. Those loans are fantastic loans, but they both have a lot of extra protections for the buyer that may obligate the seller to repairs or expenses they wouldn't have to pay with a cash or conventional purchase. There are companies who will allow you to buy the home as a cash buyer with them financing you up front, but they charge a fee for that, and you need to consult with your agent on the pros and cons of those options. Tip number 4, consider an escalation clause. Let's say you love a home that's listed at $500,000. You like it so much that you'd be willing to pay up to $520,000 for it. An escalation clause allows you to be willing to go up to that $520,000 amount, without automatically paying that if the next best offer was only willing to pay $510,000. The escalation clause would read something like, the buyer agrees to pay X number of dollars above the highest verifiable net offer up to $520,000. Most of the escalation amounts are typically $1,000 increments. So, in the scenario where the next best offer was $510,000, you would only be obligated to pay $511,000, and you could still win the competition and save yourself $9,000. In some cases, a seller may still be willing to take the lower offer because other terms, such as the loan type, are more favorable. So it may be worth escalating your offer in increments of, say, $2,500. Consult your agent for help on your situation specifically. I will note that a possible downside to the escalation clause is that it incentivizes the seller to wait until all offers come in so they can see how high they can get your escalation price up to. To avoid this, you could consider using another special stipulation that states that if the seller accepts your offer by X date, the buyer automatically agrees to pay $510,000 or $515,000. This may incentivize the seller to accept your offer before allowing others to come in to beat you. This over asking price offer leads me to our next tip. Tip number 5, consider guaranteeing a dollar amount above the appraised value if the appraisal comes in below the contract price. Sometimes appraisals don't keep up with the market, or some appraisers try to keep the price increases in check by really sticking to the comps. So, to make your offer stand out and give the seller some guarantees, consider stating that you will pay X amount of money above the appraised value in the event the appraisal comes in below the contract price. The wording on this can get really tricky, so I'm not going to state it and give that information in this video, but the gist is that you may be willing to pay something like up to $5,000 to cover any difference between the appraised value and the contract price. So, if you went under contract at that $511,000 example that we had before, and the appraisal comes in at $505,000, you would pay the appraised value plus $5,000, giving the seller a total of $510,000 and not obligating you to the full difference. This is not waiving your appraisal. Do not waive your appraisal unless you fully understand what that means. I've had an appraisal in the last year or so come in $46,000 below the contract price. My client didn't have to pay that and was able to work out a middle ground with the seller because they did have an appraisal contingency, and that gave them the ability to cancel and get back their earnest money if we didn't come to an agreement. So the seller was kind of in a spot where they might as well negotiate with us because the next appraisal will probably be very close to what it was. So my client won out in that one for sure. Please note that this extra money will be in addition to your down payment and other closing costs. So if you did a $500,000 purchase with 20% down, 20% down is $100,000. So you would need your $100,000 down payment plus another $5,000 to cover the gap, plus any closing costs that you have. Tip number 6, consider a higher earnest money deposit, but make sure it's protected. The most common earnest money amount is usually around 1% of the purchase price. If you know your earnest money is protected by contingencies in the purchase contract and you trust your agent to help you keep that protected, consider offering maybe 1.5% to 2%. The earnest money goes towards your total funds needed to close, so it isn't any extra money on top of your costs to buy the home. It's just paying that little bit more upfront. Tip number 7, consider offering no due diligence period and instead use the exhibit property sold with the right to request repairs. The due diligence period allows you to cancel for pretty much any reason you want. So if you wake up the next morning after going under contract and you just have a bad feeling, or maybe you saw another home that you might like better, you can cancel and get your earnest money back, and the seller has no control over that. Sellers obviously don't love this. So as long as you only plan to cancel if your loan isn't approved, or if you find something during the inspection that may be a deal breaker if the seller doesn't fix it, you can consider using the finance contingency, which you should always have in your contract anyways to protect if your loan doesn't get approved, and the exhibit called property sold with a right to request repairs. This makes your offer stand out as not having a due diligence period, and to be honest, many less experienced agents don't realize that you still have protections. Again, please consult your agent or attorney before using this approach, or any of these tips for that matter. Tip number 8, ask the listing agents which preferences they have. Have your agent reach out to them, preferably at the beginning before your agent is call number 50 and they don't want to give them the time of day, and ask if the seller has any preferences on the closing attorney, how long they'd like the contract to be, etc. You may think the seller wants a quick close, but what if they'd rather be 45 to 60 days so they have plenty of time to pack? If your agent can build some rapport with the listing agent and can show early on before too many other offers start coming in that they and their client can be flexible and easy to work with, that can go a long way towards getting your offer accepted, even among other offers that may be higher. Tip number 9, consider offering time after closing for the seller to move out. Another huge benefit that may make you stand out is if you are in the position and willing to allow the seller to have extra time after closing to move out. This can be as little as a day up to a month or more. Ask your lender, however, if the bank will require you to move in within a set number of days to make sure you are still abiding by the loan guidelines. These days can be at a per diem rate, so you can charge a daily rate for them to rent back to you, but it's often most effective when you offer it at no charge. I've been able to get clients a home for thousands below other offers by allowing the seller to stay an extra 30 days rent-free. Please know that this will require a temporary occupancy agreement, and you are effectively a landlord at that point, and the seller may be subject to tenants' rights if they don't vacate the property by the agreed upon date. Tip number 10. Try to avoid contingencies such as having to sell your home. If you need to sell your home in order to buy the next one, you definitely aren't alone, but you will be at a disadvantage to other offers who don't have that potential issue in their offer. If you must sell your home to buy the next one, there are companies who will allow you to do a bridge loan and buy your next home first and sell your current one once you moved out. Very helpful, but there are also companies like Open Door and OfferPad, who will give you a guaranteed cash offer on your home with the flexibility to choose your closing date up to a few months. These companies aren't doing this out of the goodness of their hearts though, so there will be a cost for using them. But consult your agent and decide which, if any, might work best for you. There are more tips and ways to get you the best deal possible when you're buying a home in any market, but if I went through them all, this video would be hours long, and it's quite long already. I hope these tips help and maybe even give you some insights as to why it's so helpful to have a good agent helping you. If you found this video helpful, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. We add at least one video each week. If you have a question about any of these tips or would like us to help you buy a home, please reach out to us through phone, text, email, or our website at legendsatlanta.com. Click here to see one of our other videos, or you can go onto our channel to see our full library. Thanks again so much for watching this video, and we hope to see you again soon.